10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to the Rising Coaches Member Spotlight. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Today's episode is brought to you by Dr. Dish, the best shooting machine and training equipment in the world, ever in the history of the world. It's the best shooting machine I've ever used. We've certainly used a ton throughout my coaching career, and Dr. Dish, by far, the sturdiest, most reliable equipment, and really gets you more reps per minute, per hour than anything else I've seen out there. So make sure you visit drdish.com, Dr. Dish B-Ball on social media. And if you let them know that Rising Coaches sent you, they will give you a discount for $300 off your next purchase. So pretty good, Emmanuel.
Really?
$300 off, always trying to save our members money through Rising Coaches. Also, before we get into today's spotlight, I want to talk a little bit about our live events. They're back. I'm so excited about this. We've got two conferences coming up. Our 12th annual Rising Coaches Conference will be back in person. First event since the outbreak of COVID. We're going to do one on the West and one on the East. So June 17th through the 18th in Phoenix, Arizona, and July 6th through the 7th in Atlanta. You can make plans now to sign up. If you sign up before May 22nd, you'll receive $25 off. Members, if you're a Rising Coaches member, you get $100 off. So go to risingcoaches.com now and book your spot for the Rising Coaches Conference West or the Rising Coaches Conference East. Or if you really want to do it up this summer, do both. I'll be at both of them. So curious to see how many people follow my lead on that one. But yeah, we're so excited to get back in person and put COVID behind us, right? Okay. Very excited today to be joined by Emmanuel Bland of the Dallas Mavericks. Emmanuel, good morning, sir. How are you?
Morning, Adam. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Yeah, it's good to see you as always.
Good to see you, man. And thanks for having me. Rising Coaches is awesome. Great organization. Recommend it for any coach, young or old, new or, been in the business a while. I mean, just a great organization, and you guys do a great job.
Well, I appreciate that, Emmanuel. Tell us, let's get started just about you. Let's learn a little bit about you. Tell us where you're from and how you got into hoops.
A little bit about me. Born in the Philippines. I was actually lived there for 6 years, and if you know anything about the Philippines, it's a basketball crazed country. I think there was a book written in Pacific Rims by Rafe Bartholomew about it. And there's a, basketball court in every neighborhood on side. I mean, kids playing in flip flops. So just, to kind of grow up, I know I left there when I was 6, but I, still have vivid memories of my uncles playing basketball, all the basketball stuff. I mean, gather around the TV, in the morning because of the time difference, watching NBA games, on the one TV that we have in our little neighborhood. Moved to the States when I was 6, and my dad worked for the federal government, so we moved around a lot. But eventually settled in West Virginia. So, I'll claim it as where I grew up. A lot of people don't look at me and think West Virginian, but that's, where spent elementary, middle school, and high school years, and played for a really good high school coach and Brian Hilton at Greater Beckley Christian. A lot of people know it as Beckley Prep now. They have a really good prep program, moving a lot of kids to Division I. Well, that's separate, but it's kind of the same school now. But and then, played college basketball, a little NAIA school in Mississippi, Blue Mountain College, and then transferred for my last year to a little Baptist school in Louisville, Kentucky, boys college. So that's just a little bit about my plan. And then I got into coaching, and I did a stint overseas. I hate to say it because I wasn't very good and I didn't play very much, but in the Philippines, because of my background, having a dual citizenship, having 2 passports, I could play over there easily. I didn't have to be very good, and I was played for the NLEX Warriors or Road Warriors. And so and after that, I just transitioned into coaching. I coached in China for 3 years with a program called 5-Star Sports, loosely affiliated with Nike Basketball, which that was a really good experience. Did camps and clinics for Nike Basketball over there, and coached a club team, coached a high school team. And then, had 2 little girls over there. Me and my wife had 2 little girls over there. And so we didn't want to raise them in China. We want to, come back. So transitioned back to the States, coached junior college for 2 years, which was amazing. Worked for a great coach and had really good experiences. Grew and learned a lot as a coach. I would highly recommend junior college coaching for anybody. And then after that, I got this internship with the Mavs in 2019, and so been here 2 years. So
okay,
and
awesome.
Wrapping up at the end of this year.
All right, lots to talk about.
Lots to unpack there. No, that's a mouthful.
First of all, we got to start with the scouting report. What were you like as a player?
Sharpshooter. Don't leave me open in the corner, Adam. That's the spot. So one of our responsibilities here with the Mavs is to play and keep your guys sharp and be on there for workouts. And so one of my favorite things is just spotting up in that corner. I mean, I can't do much as far as ball handling, but if I get a screen coming off, pinned down, or if I'm just a little drift to the corner, it's going in, I feel like.
3-point specialist. Is there anybody on the Mavs roster that you can outshoot?
What's that?
Is there anybody on the roster that you can outshoot?
No. But it was pretty fun playing against those guys and hitting threes and like, damn, man, you're like, wow, okay. Got a little stroke over in the corner. So
yes. Love it. What was it like going back to the Philippines to play professionally?
Oh, it was good. My family was still over there. My mom and dad, they were missionaries over there for a while. And when I went back, they were still living there, and my sisters were still in middle school. And so it was just great to be around family and be back there. I mean, played with some really good players: Kirk Long, Emmanuel, Rosser, Garvo Linetti, Kevin Alas. I mean, so I mean, it was special to go back. I mean, again, didn't play much, if at all, and just I wasn't very good. I mean, I spent 4 months there, and at the end of those 4 months, I knew that coaching was the route for me. So,
now, did you meet your wife in the Philippines, or did you meet her in the States?
Oh, in stateside. We didn't go to college together, but I went to school at Blue Mountain College. It's in North Mississippi. She went to school at Southern Miss. And our schools did a joint thing during the summer of her freshman year, my sophomore year, where we did summer missions together. And so we went to different cities in Mississippi and helped those like little local churches put on VBS. And so that's where we met. And so we got to be really good friends. And just, 8 years later, here we are. So
awesome. And then you transition to coaching and go to China.
Yes. So after we came back from the Philippines, we actually lived for a few months with my in-laws. And so just trying to figure out what we're going to do. You know what I mean? Like, I've just known basketball all my life. And I had worked for the Y like part-time when I was in college. So I was like, maybe I want to, go the nonprofit route, do the YMCA thing. And so applied, and then I was like, no, I really like basketball. And so during that time, there was a couple of like local kids that asked me like, hey, you play basketball, you want to train us? And I was like, man, I'm not a trainer, you know what I mean? But I have some stuff that I did when I was a kid, because I was always shooting. I was always trying to get better. I was, as a 5'11", 6-foot Filipino guy, you have to do a lot to differentiate yourself and be a player, because you step on the court, they're kind of like, can this kid play, right? And so so I got to start working with kids, and I trained 2 or 3, and I was like, man, I really like this basketball thing. I coached upward hoops when I was in college, and so I started looking at coaching jobs, and at that time I didn't have a network. I wish I knew about rising coaches, you know what I mean? And so I didn't really know what to do. I was kind of confused. And I didn't have a network, so I didn't know who to reach out to about GAs and stuff. I mean, I sent cold emails out there like, hey, I'm interested in this or whatever. But then I saw this job opening in China with 5 Star Sports as a basketball coach. And I'm like, yeah, I spent a year abroad in college in China at Bohai University doing kind of a language and culture exchange. And so I knew Chinese and I love Chinese culture. And I was like, it'd be cool to go back to Asia and coach basketball. So I applied for that and went out there, and it was a really good organization to work with. So Bob Pierce is the director of instruction. He coached professional basketball in Japan, and he was actually the Asian scout for the Cleveland Cavaliers over there. And so he was kind of the guy that I worked under. And the way it was structured is you had a club teams, and it's different from like club teams here in the States. It's not AU tournaments, but it's club teams. You have kids for the entire year. You practice with them 2 or 3 times a week. And so it really helped me develop as a coach, and especially coaching through a language barrier. It really helped me to teach the game in a simpler way, fundamentals. I mean, these kids aren't, out of this world good, but they're willing to learn, and they had a good English base. And so it was just good to be on the court, to teach the game, and to help, to be a team. And through that opportunity in China, I got to coach a high school team, be a consultant for a high school team that was playing in a Nike league over there in Guangzhou. And I mean, it was just awesome playing, Guangzhou, the city we lived in, had 24 million people ish. Wow. And so, playing in front of these big high schools with these kids, I mean, it was just a great experience for me. So, I mean, I loved it. And
yeah.
in those camps was good too. So,
yeah, it sounds like a great experience. And like, I feel like you see all the time, there's multiple programs like that in China that are always looking to hire coaches from the States. And I'd always see those things and be like, I don't know. Like, I don't know, I don't know if it's reputable or not, but
yeah, that's the thing. I think I got lucky with being with a really good organization that paid their coaches on time and and really had that affiliation with Nike basketball. So anytime like Kyrie or KD or Kobe came over and did clinics, we helped do those. You see all the time those players coming over to China and all the kids on the court. So we would help facilitate that. And, through that, I met Dave Hopla, who's shooting coach for the Pistons. Herb Livesey came over. Peja and Vladi Divac came over and did a clinic with us. James Scott, he worked for the Rockets. He's the strength and conditioning coach for the Shanghai Sharks. Got to work with him. And just, again, for a guy that didn't have a network, kind of build a little bit, right? And meet coaches. The coaches that we had were really good. We had a coach that came over. He played at Portland State. We had another guy that played at Loyola Chicago. They have an academy, a basketball, 5-star basketball academy now that's run by a guy who played at Spartanburg Methodist, really good junior college in South Carolina. And so, we had just really good coaches. And then, the people that we worked with just built really good relationships with those people. And so it was, it was a really good experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. Did Dave Hopla, I gotta ask, did he shoot the entire time? He was. Yes, he
did. Dave's really we actually messaged the other day, and he was. I was the guy when Dave came. Like, I was his guy. Like, all right, Emmanuel, make sure Dave gets here. He gets his hotel. He gets all his meals. He's eating. You know what I mean? One of those guys that if Dave needs a ride somewhere, you got it. You call the taxi. You do this. If Dave wants to go shopping at the market, you got to go with him and haggle prices. I got a video of Dave trying to haggle down some lady on a price of a purse he's trying to buy for his wife. Like, it was just, I mean, it was great, and pick his brain about the NBA. And actually through that experience, like, Dave was like, anytime you're in the States, let me know, to help you out. So me, a coworker of mine, when we were thinking about transitioning back to the U.S., actually flew over to the United States we had some time off for Chinese New Year. And Dave actually hosted us in Detroit, gave us, us come on the court real early, watched our whole workouts and everything. And he was super nice and just super accommodating. So
Yeah, that's awesome. He's the best. For those of you guys
yeah,
that don't know, like the best clinician ever, because the entire time he talks, he just
he's shooting. I mean, and the kids are amazed. I mean, and it's just a machine.
Yeah, well, like now this is like I don't, how old are you, Emmanuel?
I'm 32.
Okay, I'm 37, so we're close. I'm a little older, but this is like 20 years ago that I used to see him. I would work the Phoenix Suns camps, and he would come every year and talk. And I don't know if he still does this, but he'd make the kids like
chart
the
his
kids would
shot.
have to like chart all his shots.
Yeah.
And in the 30-minute talk or hour talk he'd give, he would probably go like 197 out of 200.
Yeah, I think
straight buckets.
Yeah, I think he went 243 for 245 at one of our clinics, and I'm just like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, like you're really surprised when he misses.
He's winded. I mean, he's shooting all over the court too. It's not like he's just taking. I know he starts out close to the basket doing form shots, but he's all over. So
yeah, impressive. Okay, what JUCO did you coach at?
I coached at Dawson Community College in Glendive, Montana, Region 13. So Tyler Slick, who you had on the member spotlight. So we coached against one another when he was at Science and I was at Dawson. So Region 13, and not a lot of people know this, but I think there's different tiers, just like there's mid majors, high majors in college. Right. There's, and Region 13, the Mondat conference, I'd say is not it's not a Texas JUCO, it's not a Kansas JUCO, it's not a Florida JUCO. I mean, and so I tell guys that we, connect all the time on through Rising Coaches, the me to coach type phone calls. It's like junior college coaching will grow you as a coach. I mean, I was strength and conditioning, academic oversight, meals, everything. You have your hands in a lot of things. And if your coach trusts you and he puts all those things in your plate, sometimes you've never done it. You got to figure it out and you got to learn on the fly. And the coach I work for, Joe Peterson, he was actually on staff with Buzz Williams at Northwestern State and coached with Coach Platt at Charleston Southern. And then he spent 12 years overseas in Kenya as a missionary. So when he transitioned back, got into coaching, just he's one of those guys that's just a really great guy to work for. One of those guys that understand that basketball can be used as a tool to impact kids. He's not one of those guys that's going to, you got to be here, you got to be there until 11 o'clock in the office. But one of those guys that just really poured a lot into me as a coach and as a person. And so I'm super grateful for him. And, this year they beat Indian Hills and they went to the national tournament. He's a really good coach as well. So I loved my time and got to recruit for 2 years on a budget to Montana. So, I mean, I just felt like those 2 years, I grew a lot as a coach, as a recruiter, as a, everything. So I'm really grateful for that opportunity.
I had a very similar JUCO experience. I loved it. Had to do everything. It took some years off the end of my life, I'm convinced, but no, it's the best. There's nothing like it. And probably the most fun I've ever had.
Yes.
Be so close with that group of kids because you're with them, you're doing everything for them.
Super close. I actually worked my second job. So, junior college, you're not getting paid very much. So I was a tutor on campus and also an assistant coach. So I had a tutoring office that all the guys would just come into to tutor, but they would just sit around and just talk, and you just get to know these kids. And I mean, I still talk to these guys. I mean, JUCO relationships, and you coach in JUCO are just different. They're forged through some of the toughest times. And junior college, everybody's just trying to get out. You know what I mean? What players, coaches, but but in that time that you have together, you're bonded. And Glendive, Montana is not the easiest place to live in. I mean, it's -30 in the winter. The winters last up until April or May, and those kids are, all they're doing is going to class, getting in the gym, maybe hanging out in the tutoring office. I mean, that's all they're doing. It's a small town, but they get so much better, and they just enjoy it. And it's one of those things where I expect these texts from them, and I actually got invited to one of their weddings this summer. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And then how did you get the internship with the Mavericks? That's the $1 million question.
Yeah, that's $1 million question. So I had applied for this internship when I was coming back from China. I was like, I know all these coaches. We built a network over here, but I ended up getting it. And I applied just like everybody else, teamwork online, and I put Dave Hopla as a reference. And I think when you're applying with 1,000 other people, you kind of want to differentiate yourself. And so I feel like that was a differentiator because the guy who was hiring for the position, Mike Procopio, he was the director of player development, and I did an interview with him. He knew Dave, and so that was kind of a point of reference there. And so, but I still went through all the interviews, Zoom, Skype interviews, and then did an in-person interview in Dallas. And they hired 12 interns. I think they had like 1,200 people apply. So out of those 1,200, they're picking 12. So I was just one of those lucky ones in the stack where a name caught someone's eye, and I'm not saying that name got me a job, but it got me in the room. You know what I mean? It got me on the phone with somebody. So
yeah, and you weren't lucky. You put in the work, leading up to it. You know what I mean? You went to China, you coached in Montana, like you earned the opportunity. But I get what you're saying. 1,300 to pick 12 is crazy odds.
Yeah, there was a lot of luck involved in it. And I'm telling you, the group of guys, the interns that we had, just were amazing. And there's a group of interns that come through Dallas every year. I mean, there's some that's actually, part of Rising Coaches. Jeremiah, who's at Arkansas, Mitch Ford, who was in Buffalo. But we had 12 great dudes that just, they're going to be, friends for life. They're going to be guys that I reach out to when getting jobs or doing stuff. And they're just, Mike Moser, who played at Oregon, he just got the assistant coach job for the Oregon women's team, who's a member of Rising Coaches as well. He was a part of that group. And, there's just Ben Stelzer. All these guys are just guys, Mark Capola, Zach Steinberg, who's at SMU. They're guys that I can call up or text out of the blue and say, hey, what's happening? What's going on? And stuff like that. So it was just a great group to experience this with, for sure.
Tell us a little bit about what you do with the Mavs. Like, what's a typical day look like for you?
Yeah, so this year has been totally different, right, with COVID restrictions. And last year was a whole lot more fun because we were allowed to be on the court. We'll say we got to the facility probably at 7:30, 7 o'clock every morning. The players start rolling in about 45 minutes after. And, we're on the court rebounding. I'm a master rebounder, trying not to let that ball hit the ground. We were passing. We were playing defense. Jalen Brunson, he loves to go live in some of his workouts, and so he'd go 3-on-1 but not 3-on-1, but 1-on-1, so they'll throw a defender at him. He'll do a rep. They'll throw another defender. He'll do a rep. And so we were those guys, I could say, glorified managers / GAs that were just out there wiping sweat, rebounding basketballs, passing, being defenders. And then, those were individual workouts in the morning. And then when practice starts, we'd split into two groups. And so I went with a group of Coach Silas, who's with the Houston Rockets now. He did offense. And so, if we're playing the Wizards, they're running actions against us, kind of scout team like. And then there's another group on the other practice court, and they're doing what the Washington's offensive actions as our guys try to guard it, and we're swapping. We're live defenders in practice. And so that was practice, and then they'll have
sorry.
Afterwards. Yeah.
Sorry, real quick. Are you getting cussed out by Rick Carlisle if you get blown by?
Yes.
Or you screw up a play?
Yes. So Coach Carlisle will be like, I was always, most of the time, the board man. So, you know, if he wanted to draw something up in practice, you better be there on the spot with the board, or he's like, where the was my board? You know what I mean? Like, and so if he's turning around, the board's not, you know, right there waiting for him. He's not having it. But no, he was always gracious. Coach Carlisle was super gracious and kind, and but yeah, if you weren't on the ball with something, he was looking for you. And so he was a fun guy to be around and just interact. And all those coaches were, I mean, our player development coaches, God Shamgod, Daryl Armstrong, Peter Patton, they were just guys that, you know, when they did their workouts, you better be paying attention, because there's a lot of stuff that you can take, a lot of stuff that they're doing footwork wise, and just telling our players, because they're pulling from years of experience and knowledge and working guys out and doing all that stuff. So it was, you know, that was last year. This year, totally different. It's all remote. They're sending us, you know, just film from practice and workouts that we're charting, and we're sending that on to our director of basketball administration, and he keeps kind of like an internal database of how many shots their guys are getting up and how many shots they're making during the week and from what spots, and then I think he writes a report and sends it on to, you know, the big guy, Mark Cuban. So
so when you say you chart practice, like you're charting actual like shot attempts?
Yeah, so I chart our 3 rookies. I've charted them since the beginning of the year, and probably my biggest thing is when they're working out, let's say they take a shot from the left corner, 15 foot left corner, 8 out of 10.
Your spot, Emmanuel.
Yeah, that's right. And then they're gonna move, and then they're on the move. So like if they're going from the corner and they're pulling up to the wing, I'll put left 3-point left corner pull. And so I'm charting that, and then I'm putting it into an Excel sheet, and those Excel sheets just add up their numbers, and you know, it can be a little time consuming, especially when they're not wearing a chip that tracks their charts. You know, some weeks, especially during the preseason, if they're not using their chips or whatever, I'm maybe charting 1,000, 2,000 shots a week. So
crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, they get up a lot of shots. A lot of guys don't know the work that goes behind it. And just, you know, some guys are getting 1,000 shots during the week and probably shooting 4 shots the whole 3 games during the week.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so these guys are professionals. They're diligent about their craft, and you know, it was good to just see the work ethic, the professionalism of these guys that are coming in and just working at it. So,
well, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, what was the biggest shock? Maybe the biggest like thing that you didn't expect, and maybe a thing that like you thought you'd see more of at that level.
The biggest shock. I just think how welcoming and gracious everybody was with the Mavericks organization. Like, I mean, our first day, you kind of like shell shocked when you walk into the practice facility and you got Luka Doncic working out on one court, you got Kristaps Porzingis on the other side of the court, you know, Tim Hardaway Jr. shooting on the other court. But you know, they're very welcoming, very little ego. I mean, they have an ego because they're in the NBA. They have to have some type of, you know, confidence and stuff like that. But just how gracious everybody was to us and how they treated us. They, you know, we weren't treated like the lowest level of the rung, which we were, you know, but we were treated, you know, very well and valued and stuff like that. So I really appreciated that. What I expect to see more. I don't know. I didn't come in with any expectations. I wanted to come in eyes wide open. You know, as a Filipino who, you know, you got Mike Magpayo at UC Riverside who paved the way in college. You got Eric Spoelstra, but there's still a sense of this imposter syndrome. You know that you're like, man, do I belong here? Type deal. And so I expected not a lot, and I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but I was very appreciative of the time and the experience that I had, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a unique deal, right? Because it's a 2-year internship and then it's done, right? Like they pull the plug.
It is a 1 year, but because
That's a
of
1 year.
COVID last year, they extended it into this year. And so,
Okay.
yeah, so I was really lucky to get on. There was actually a couple of our guys that moved on after last year. One became a GA at Texas Tech and at Texas now. And then another guy was at SMU. And then another guy took an assistant coaching job at Rice with the women's team. So there was, I think, only 8 of us left, 7 or 8 of us. But they allowed us to do another year this internship, but remotely.
So what's like the plan after the season?
That's the question right now, right? I'm looking for any and all opportunities, I guess. I've talked with my junior college coach, and I talk to him on a weekly, almost daily basis. And for me, I'm 32. And so I was the oldest intern, which, Coach Carlisle always made a quip about that. Like, Manny, you're 30, you're interning? Like, what are you doing with your life? And so, but like, I want to go where I can have the most impact on the court, like as far as winning, but like impact with the kids. And like, if that means going back to junior college, I mean, be great. I've talked to some guys about their GA experience and maybe taking a GA somewhere. And then, I'm open. I don't know what the next logical step is. Last year I interviewed with the Texas Legends about an open operations job. I mean, I'm trying to figure it out. Just praying about it, talking to my wife about it, and just seeing what opportunities open up, and I'm open. So I don't know what the next step is. That's a long-winded answer to say I don't know what the next step is.
Well, whatever it is, I'm sure you're going to make a great impact on wherever you go and be successful, because you clearly work hard, but I've always been impressed by your level of humbleness, and you've done a lot, man. You've done a lot in a short amount of time, and it's impressive. But you act, like you act like, like, I don't know, very humble.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that'll carry you far for sure in this business. Not everyone's like that. All right, hit me with last thing before I let you go. Hit me with like the best piece of advice, the biggest lesson you've learned, in your years coaching, that could benefit, someone getting into the business or someone that's been in it for a while.
For sure. I say be yourself. I think a lot of people are going to try to go outside themselves and do things that are not within their skill set. I mean, be yourself. Again, stay humble and hungry. Those are 2 things that my dad always taught me, that Coach Peterson, when I was at junior college, was always harped on with me and with our guys. Like, you got to know that you're not always going to be the smartest person in the room. So you got to learn to listen. You got to learn to be humble, and you got to be hungry. Like, every year there's guys that want to be a part of this business. It's a great business that we're in, right? To coach basketball, to follow our passion. And so, learn to listen, be humble, and be hungry. Those are the 3 things that I feel like have been the best advice for me, and could be the best advice for anybody, because, those are things that'll take you far. Like you said, it's just, you got to be those 3 things, and you got to do those 3 things to be successful. Because, I mean, no one wants to work with a guy who's always wanting his way, who thinks, he knows everything, because you're always going to come up against somebody that knows something more. And there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to take away from that. So
I love it. Great advice, Emmanuel. Appreciate you jumping on the member spotlight today. And
thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And look forward to seeing you on some Zooms here shortly, maybe in person. Who knows?
Yes, sir. Looking forward to coming to these live events.
Yeah, come on. Which one are you coming to, Emmanuel?
Shoot, I might do both, but no, Phoenix sounds good. I
Yeah.
like Phoenix. That's great weather, So, but Atlanta's good too. We have some family over there, so we'll see.
All right. Sweet. Well, we'll see you there, man. Thanks
Thank
again,
you,
Emmanuel.
man.
Appreciate
Yes,
you
sir.
jumping on.